Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to Mile High Insiders with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Now, it's time to find out what's going on behind the walls of UC Health Training Center.
Welcome in, guys. It is Saturday evening, and it's time for an episode of Mile High Insiders. There we go. There's that last check mark. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, Luke Patterson for the Saturday show. Luke, how you doing? Happy weekend to you. Happy Bronco football Saturday, man. Every single day is a Bronco football day from here on out.
Yeah, man, it's crazy bumping around the Mile High City today, and everyone is wearing their orange and blue. I mean, even when I traveled out of state recently, I told you guys about it last week. I mean, Broncos country is out in full force with tons of energy, and it's just it's a pinch yourself moment every day. It really is for Broncos country right now, because you go from the depths of hell, quarterback hell and head coaching hell, and somehow George Paton pulls it together. It's going to be a little bit, it's going to take a little time. So while we're all excited, we still got to temper some expectations. But man, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled that Broncos country is out of the quarterback desert. Russell Wilson is here. It still feels weird saying that. It feels weird seeing him in orange and blue, but the great kind of weird that we've all been wanting.
We're relevant again, baby. That's what we've been saying for a while. We've been arguing about all these things, and it's like, oh, the offensive line, the pass rush, the cornerbacks, and then the voice in the back of your head saying, it doesn't matter until you get a quarterback. Have a quarterback now. So everybody's dusting out their Bronco gear. I won't lie to you. Walking around the neighborhood here, I walk around the lake near my house almost every day. And most of the time, I wear my Hawkeye stuff. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull out the Broncos D. And maybe that's a little bit aggressive living out here in Seattle. But we got Mr. O coming in saying, regulators, let's ride. Maybe that's one that you should read, Luke, for the reference there.
Regulate, Mr. Yeah, come on, man. That's Warren G right there. Of course I know about that. Yeah, man, you got not only a quarterback, but you've got a guy that is a perfectionist. You've got a guy that believes in faith, football, and family. I mean, he's so committed to his craft. Yeah. He's got Lloyd Cushenberry out there. I'm wondering how much Lloyd Cushenberry is going to be expected to improve. I mean, we're already kind of, have mixed reviews of Cush. You like the kid, you want more consistency. You wonder about his ability to play at a starting level. He's got the head for it, but it's sometimes the physical limitations with him. Well, now that Russell Wilson's here, obviously Russ sees something in Cush. Otherwise, he wouldn't be wasting his time. So when the only offensive lineman out there with Russell Wilson is the center, which it should be, Lloyd Cushenberry, his level of play is going to get up there too. So Russell Wilson being here, man, it makes everyone better, including the defense, which we'll get into tonight as well.
I mean, just the expectation, it's a culture shift day one, from the cooks, nutrition staff, expectations have changed. It's not so much, hey, we'd like to get together. It's we are getting together. This is what we're doing. Dylan's coming in. This is what we're doing. Sup, Broncos country. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way in and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much, Dylan. Good to see you. Diamond Rattler in the house too, saying, boom, let's ride. We got Shai Vargas saying, let's ride. Cameron Mora with the blue and the orange there. We got Paul saying, Nick and Luke, hello, my friends. Hello to you, Paul.
What's up, Paul?
We got Dirk saying, is it 8? It's 5 o'clock where I am. I think I would say 6 o'clock Mountain Time. I don't know.
6 p.m. in the Mile High City, baby. Yeah. Always here at MHI. You guys can find us at 6 p.m. Guys, you can find Nick on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. What's up, Peter? Our guy, Peter Middleton, always with us since day one. Appreciate you joining MHI. You can find yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. And Scott, you can find Scott at Scout Kennedy on Twitter as well. Make sure you guys get at Mile High Huddle on Twitter for all your social networking needs. For our Twitter, that's at MHI_pod. And wherever you're listening, be sure to leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing. And let's get down to it. I want to continue to say what's up to some folks. Michael Ronquillo, another good member of our community and a friend of ours. Good evening, Luke, Nick, and Broncos country. I absolutely love it. Anthony Ortiz is coming in here. What's up? Let's go Broncos. And Nick, one thing that I've been thinking about today is, you know how we love to make fun of Russell Wilson for being corny and everything like that?
Yeah.
It's who he is, though, right? I mean, like, the only reason it works is because he believes in who he is. He can back up what he does. And the whole Broncos country, let's ride. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting. Like, you knew there was something coming after living in Seattle, right? Where he said, go Hawks or something like that after everything. So when Russell Wilson's your quarterback, he comes in here, acknowledges Broncos country. It's time for a new chapter. Let's start with let's ride. I mean, Peyton had United in orange, and here we go. It's a new chapter, baby.
Yeah.
Broncos country, we are back.
Yeah, absolutely. And the AFC West is going to be a bloodbath, but the window just cracked open ever so slightly with the Tyreek Hill trade. So we're going to get into it, guys.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
It's going to be so much fun, though. So much must-watch television. Zebulon Foster coming in with $9.99. Thank you so much, Zebulon. Good morning or good afternoon to you. Good evening, wherever you are. And happy Saturday. In Seattle this weekend for work. Hey, you're in my country. Hopefully it stops raining here pretty soon. I've been getting my digs in every chance I get with these Seahawks fans. Let's ride. Yeah, be careful where you're getting your digs in. They
might throw a veggie at you or something, light your couch on fire. But no, for real, Seattle, let me know. How's Drew Lock doing? How are those number 2 jerseys coming along? Because every Drew Lock jersey I've seen here has been converted to that Wilson jersey, the hottest jersey in the NFL right now. And we wish Drew well, but, you know, little things are going to come out. You saw Sua Cravens. I mean, never heard of her coming after Vic Fangio. And these things come out as teams in separation from their quarterbacks and their head coaches happen. So it's a little odd. Also want to give a tip of the cap to Von Miller on his birthday, I believe. I think he turned 33 today. I might be mistaken.
Yes.
But Buffalo Bills, man, paying Vonster a ton of money to get after the quarterback. And I know we're going to focus on tonight's AFC West show, but dude, the AFC East, the AFC North. I mean, the AFC is stacked in general as a conference right now, Nick.
It really is. I mean, AFC North, AFC East with the Bills, AFC South, Miami, or AFC South and Indy. Miami's good now. It's a lot of fun. We got Maddie Schaefer. Hello to some of our Mile High Huddle ladies here. Hello, go Broncos. I like the flag in the background. Thank you so much, Maddie Schaefer, and welcome into the show.
What is she talking about? My flags? Like, how do we?
About you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to like dismiss me like that. I know you're looking good and everything right here. I got to pull up this comment right here because Kayla's saying, "Oh man, Nick looks so different without a hat." I know he looks good, right? He's got that flow going on right now, and I can't compete. So they, face for radio for a reason. We appreciate everyone rocking with us on MHI tonight. And before we get into it too much, I just want to say what's up to a few more folks. Anthony Ortiz is in the house saying, "What is up, Broncos country? Let's go Broncos." And I don't know how they do it, Nick. I mean, George Payton from overnight, the Broncos, he's flipped this switch, and he did it in secrecy. Like Biggie Smalls said, bad boys move in silence. And George Payton is a bad boy, and he is going down, and I don't think he's done yet. We haven't got to the draft. Free agency's not done. You're going to see more free agents in the summer because guess what? Injuries are going to happen. I'm telling you right now, we have to plan for it. And that's where you could see some more veteran big names coming for cheap to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely possible. And Russell Wilson, I mean, we heard when Randy Gregory came at his press conference, he said that, Russell Wilson called him and texted him like 6 times over 12 hours, just trying to get him to seal the deal. And there is a gravity that a franchise quarterback has. Now, some people may be a little bit faded with this one, but people will recall DJ Jones, really good defensive tackle from the University of Houston, said Denver gave me a big deal, maybe even bigger than what the Bengals offered, but the choice was between Joe Burrow and Drew Lock. I'm going with Joe Burrow. That was DJ Jones, not me, DJ Reader who said that, not DJ Jones. So that's something similar with now the Broncos. They got that gravity. People want to come play and win, and in today's NFL, you only play and win if you have a quarterback.
You got a quarterback that's enthusiastic about his team, his head coach. You see Billy Turner coming over, talking about how the coaches brought him back. I'm sure Denver had something to do with it, but just this coaching staff, you got to be so impressed with it. And one last thing before we get to Peter, it kind of reminiscent, right, of John Elway and Zim having to go get Zim out of Minnesota. And like, I think they went to the Sturgis bike rally together or something like that. And he's like, "No, I need you. You need to come here. No retirement, no going back anywhere. You're coming to Denver, and we're going to make this thing work." And John Elway, he brought big money, big talent to Denver, and Russell Wilson's going to do the same. Here we go. Peter Middleton firing out on all cylinders. For the Broncos, having Lloyd Cushenberry succeed would be much better than finding a rookie or paying lots for a free agent. Graham Glasgow is in his last year or two, and a rookie has no experience. Nick, I think that's a very logical expectation. Kush has got to improve. He's with a quarterback that likes to move around, sometimes a little too much to his own detriment, if we're going to be honest. But Russ knows he's got to get rid of the ball. That quick release has made him famous.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And this is true for all rookies or guys on rookie contracts. But unfortunately for Cushenberry, the last 2 years of, bottom 5, bottom 8 center play compared to the league is not going to cut it anymore. The expectations change. This isn't a team trying to wade its way around and maybe make the playoffs and figure themselves out. They're in their window right now. Russell Wilson is never going to be younger. He's never going to be cheaper. And this roster, there's no guarantees of what it's going to look like in the future as well. So I think the window is open now. You don't have to trade away, all your 2024 draft capital, all your picks this year, and blow your cap on guys where you lose flexibility in the future. But I don't think there's, especially the Tyreek Hill trade. Yeah, Miami.
I was just going to go there, dude.
Yeah.
Miami, you guys are so stupid. Any Dolphins fan that thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl because Tyreek Hill, Jesus Christ, Nick, I have never seen a team give away everything for a wide receiver. A quarterback, yes, you do it. A wide receiver, come on, man. What are you guys doing?
They still got 2 first-round picks in 2023 and a better quarterback class. And also there is some talk. If you remember when the Brian Flores deposition was released, I believe is the word for that. He said that the owner wanted him to meet with a player who is not yet a free agent to court him, and he wasn't going to do it. A lot of people think that person was Tom Brady. I think that Greer, former Michigan alum, is going to make a full court press for Tom Brady. I know there's been some linkage there just this week between Tom Brady and the Miami Dolphins. I don't think it'll happen this year, but Tom Brady's a free agent after this year. And if Miami with 2 first-round picks next season, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, Taron Armstead,
how about Byron Leftwich going to the Miami Dolphins as head coach, and then
they got Mike McDaniel. I think Mike's going to be good. I think that he's going to be fine there. Hopefully, Denver native son.
Dude,
so I'm pulling for him.
All right. So he's friends of some friends I'm with, and I've never met the guy. He sounds great. I'm rooting for him. But Tyreek Hill is going to have run-ins with this man. I'm telling you, he's going to try to bully him. He's going to have his chest out. It's going to happen. I'm telling you, because this guy, man, I think he's so smart, but he's so green. And I think guys are going to want to take advantage of his posture, some of his mannerisms. And I don't think there's any reason to do that. I think this guy was hired for a reason, and I want to see him succeed. But I think Tyreek Hill's a bully, if I'm going to be completely honest, off the field. So that's kind of where I'm going there. I'm taking a little bit of a personal shot, but it is what it is. And I've got no love for Tyreek Hill. But you know who's got some love? Our guy Miguel. Thank you guys so much for joining in, MHI. What's up, fellas? How did the stadium hold up after Thursday? I've been pretty busy and haven't heard much. Nick, the Broncos are expected to be on fire this season, but their stadium was literally on fire a couple days ago. What do you know?
I don't know what caused it. I know that it's out. I know that nobody got hurt. It's kind of funny. I enjoy the jokes now because at the time it's like, well, let's make sure everybody's okay first. But, let Russ cook. Oh, there's white smoke coming out of Denver. That means a new quarterback's been anointed. That kind of thing. I'm all about the jokes for that. Now that we know that not everybody's hurt. But, man, it's a little bit of thank God the Broncos had been turning some heads this offseason. Let's say they were, trying to sell us Drew Lock versus Andy Dalton as the quarterback competition. Then you have this going on. Everybody would be laughing at us. Oh, the AFC West is stacked and the Broncos are bad. Nope, not anymore. People are like, oh, that's unfortunate, but Russ is cooking. So that I'd rather have those jokes all day long. We also got Paul coming in saying McDaniel started the fire. Yeah, definitely. Maybe Drew Lock on his way out or Noah Fant. Who knows?
Carroll. It was Pete Carroll's what my dad told me. But no, man. So I know a little bit about it. It was a little dramatic, if I'm going to be honest, especially having worked in the fire service and my dad's a chief. But the videos are intense. I get it. What actually happened was they're doing some construction near a certain suite, and they were actually hot steel shavings that came off, landed on the chair. It's been really windy here in Denver the last few days, and that's what ultimately kicked some stuff up. So like you said, man, very, very happy and fortunate that no one was hurt. I just hope they have the money, Nick, to replace those things, or we got to get a GoFundMe going, because I'm not sure that they're going to be able to cover the cost.
I think that, I mean, they'll cover the cost, no doubt. New owners coming in, but I am curious if this accelerates anything as far as new stadium developments with the new ownership coming in.
Interesting. There's a hot take for you. I like it. Interesting. Go on. Follow
Yeah, I mean,
up.
a lot of these
I'm
teams
listening.
right now around Denver, I have only been to a few Bronco games out there, but because I've been in the Midwest, now I'm in the Seattle, but there's some talk. I mean, the stadium's starting to get a little bit older as far as the ones that are out there. New owner coming in could see something with development around the stadium as well. You know, making Mike Kliss's proclaimed Bronco Land as an actual thing for fans to come. I've been to a lot of stadiums, and you know, the Viking Stadium, Arrowhead, Green Bay especially has an incredible Hall of Fame that's attached to it in facilities. New owner comes in, makes me think that there's a possibility for a new stadium coming in the future.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think if it happens, it's ultimately going to be out east by the airport based on everything that we
Space.
expect, right? I mean, there's a ton of commercial building and residential building going on right now. And our airport, Broncos country, for anybody who likes tinfoil hat theories like yours truly and likes to go down rabbit holes in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, look up DIA, Denver International Airport. There's all kinds of craziness that goes on allegedly there. But before we get too much crazier down my wormholes of Denver International Airport and Blucifer, by the way, do you know about Blucifer?
I do not. Oh yeah, the horse, the crazy
horse. Yeah,
Yes.
we got a big ugly statue here in Broncos country by the airport. It's blue with red eyes, and it's so big and scary. It like killed the original owner, and then I think one more owner. It's fallen on him, way too heavy to get off. So it's kind of got like a curse, and hopefully Russell Wilson's here to reverse that curse and bring us some more blessings, just like our guy Travis Weber coming in hot and fast and furious. Nick, 1,100 stars from our good friend Travis Weber. Travis, hope you're doing well. Travis is a good friend of ours, man, and he's on a good health journey right now. We're really proud of him, and just want to give you a huge shout out, Travis, because Travis is a hardworking man in this great country of ours, and we all need to be kind to each other, just like Travis saying in good evening, Luke, Nick, and Broncos country. Russell Wilson had Lloyd Cushenberry there working out with him, which should help a lot. Glad that we were chosen as the most improved team, but I feel that the division is up for grabs. I do feel we are the toughest and best division of the league this season. I expect 3, if not 4 teams will be in the playoffs. Wow, that's a bold take. I like it, Travis. What do you think, Nick? 3 out of the 4 teams in the AFC West, all 3 of them technically have a route in.
I think that right now, I think that's a good possibility that will happen. Even with Miami down there and Buffalo, I think 3 of the teams in the AFC West will be good. The thing that makes me a little bit nervous is that the Broncos are also, the AFC West is also matched up with the toughest NFC division in the NFC West. So that makes me a little bit concerned. I mean, San Francisco's good. If you catch Arizona early in the season versus late, because they're a team that's been falling off late in the season, that could be an issue. San Francisco next year, I mean, that defense is still going to be pretty good, even though some of those guys are coming to Denver, it seems, but definitely possible. The big thing here for me is what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson gets a 3-game suspension. Cleveland's a team to look out for. I mean, they traded for Amari Cooper for nothing. Myles Garrett's probably the second best defensive player.
He's not. Why would he get suspended? I thought that the grand jury said they weren't going to pursue anything the other day.
There was another criminal charge that just came to light in another county that he's going to have to go through, and the league still might suspend him.
In Texas?
In Texas. Yep.
Ah, okay.
So.
Yeah, man, talk about an ongoing story, right? They thought maybe the press conference, that would be the end of it. It's not the end of it, Nick. So that's a really interesting theory. What do you think about Baker Mayfield, real quick, before we translate back to the Broncos? Because I have a couple theories. I think Seattle would be interesting, but one thing I thought about just randomly today, call me crazy, I have no source or anything like that, just pure speculation, but Baker Mayfield to the Las Vegas Raiders makes some sense to me, especially if it's a cheap trade. Player trade, you're going to have to give someone up, and it's going to hurt a little bit, but Josh McDaniels loves to sour on quarterbacks, and when he does, he likes to have another option. Raiders, they couldn't sign Trevor Siemian. He went to the Chicago Bears. I think it's Mike Glennon signed with the Raiders. Come on, man. Mike Glennon. Where do you think Baker could ultimately end up?
I'm hoping it's Seattle, just because it'd be fun to watch him versus Drew Lock in a camp battle. Also, my favorite, this is really nerdy, but my favorite mountain out here is Mount Baker. So that would just be too awesome to have Baker playing for the Seahawks. Man, I may have to cope a Baker Seattle jersey just for the fun of it. But that is definitely Yeah, you know what? I don't hate. It's enough in the
Baker
past
the
now.
baby maker. He's now Baker the troublemaker, man. I like his.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say about him that I absolutely, you know what, that I love about him. I think he gets a bad rap, deservingly so, but he's a tough SOB.
Yeah.
You cannot take
100%.
that away from him. And I feel like sometimes it comes off as stupid, but I think he's out there to kind of try to prove a point, and he's competitive. And I love that. I just wish that some of the drama and some of the other stuff could be cooled down a little bit. And sometimes you see players that are so immature, Nick, in their first few years of whatever profession. It could be any career. I look at the NBA a lot with one of our hometown heroes and Chauncey Billups. And Chauncey Billups, Mr. Big Shot, had a really, really tough start to his NBA career and then eventually figured it out and won multiple NBA finals. And just kind of one of those things where I think things can definitely turn around.
Yeah, definitely. I think Baker suffers a little bit from main character syndrome, where everything's about him. I have to be the guy that does all this stuff. He runs for a first down and then is going nuts on his own sideline, and not a single teammate comes over to celebrate with him. Like that kind of thing. I think that's telling. Also, these guys are professionals. In college is a little bit more of the emotion, especially high school too. And for the smaller quarterback, Baker Mayfield, that can get a little bit of play. But the professionals out there, they're like, man, just do your job. It's if you're winning, then okay, that stuff comes and it's fun for the fans or whatever, but do your job. I just think that they weren't ready to follow him. And again, main character symptom there, or syndrome for him.
Some little man too, man, because here's the thing. I didn't like Baker Mayfield, the college quarterback. I didn't like the whole grabbing of, his manhood incidents. And I didn't like the flag. I didn't really mind, to be honest with you. I think sometimes you got to let those college things go, because there is some of the tradition and the hate and the energy of young, youthful college players. And I get that. So, but man, grow up, especially if you're going to be a franchise quarterback. And that's one thing you could say about Drew Lock. He's not out there making an ass of himself in any way, shape, or form. So I just hope that maybe he has a good start. I don't think it's going to be what Seattle fans hope it's going to be.
Yeah. No, definitely possible. We'll see. So pivoting it back here to the Broncos, and thank you guys for joining us today. Mile High Insiders with Luke and Nick, always here Saturday nights. A lot of fun. And while the first wave of, maybe even the second wave of free agency is over, we can start to evaluate where these teams are and where the Broncos are. Before we get into that, though, we got Jason Bolin coming in with the $10 super. Thank you so much, Jason. We appreciate it. Keeping the lights on in here.
Jason's my guy. Jason's my guy. I got to meet Jason and his boys last year at training camp. Awesome. He's a huge fan of the brand MHH, all of our shows. I mean, he drove all the way from South Dakota with his boys. They made the special trip. They're already planning. This man works. He's got a family. He does great for his community. He's a good man, and another member of Broncos country that schedules their summer around the Broncos, just like we all schedule our Sundays, our Thursdays, our Mondays. And I'm looking forward to Jason coming out. And I was telling him this year, he texted me, he's like, man, what do you think training camp's going to be like? It's like, man, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to get there, camp out overnight. It's going to be crazy. Last year, no one was there. This year, I think it's just going to be jam-packed because people want to see what Russell Wilson looks like in a Broncos uniform.
Yeah, I mean, expectations have changed, and you mentioned it. I mean, we're months from football season kicking off, and driving around Denver, everybody's wearing their Broncos stuff. It's cool again. It's fun again. It's good to be exciting, and we'll see how it all plays out. I think that maybe putting the horse or the cart before the horse a little bit, just because, you know me, scientist, I like to talk about the observable universe, what can be measured, and we have a lot of variables that changed on the Broncos this year that make it a volatile outcome. Could it take a little bit of time for it to get going this season? Absolutely. Could it not be as good as we think right out the gate? For sure. It could take multiple evolutions year by year to really kind of figure this out. But still, expectations should be playoffs. Let's get it going. And if you get in the playoffs, I mean, last year we saw it. Everybody's like, oh, you got to get the 1 seed. It's obviously better to have the 1 seed. Duh. Like, you can get a bye week. It's an automatic win, that first one. That's fine. But the Super Bowl was 2 number 4 seeds. And that's, I think the year before, the Patriots were the 5th seed. So you don't have to be the division winner. If you just get into the playoffs and you have a good enough quarterback, you can get a win and enough health. Well, you can go all the way.
And fortune. And just like Jason's alluding to, saying, keep up the great work, guys. Training camp can't come soon enough. Coolest part of all of this is that my youngest son has never watched exciting Broncos football, and he's about to. And Jason's exactly right, man. My daughter has been fortunate enough. I remember when she was a baby, that Super Bowl 48, I think, against the Seahawks, where the Broncos just got trashed and it was horrible. And then my dad looks at me, he's like, well, son, you're now officially a Broncos fan, because they were 2-0 in the Super Bowl in my lifetime. And he's like, nope, you've seen them blow a Super Bowl. And the Broncos have had a checkered past of, winning those Super Bowls. But to have your kids and your family and your friends celebrate a special football season together in the next chapter, that's what makes this sport great, Nick. To be able to talk about it, to share stories, to argue, to fight, to bicker, to haze, to just have a great time. And I think the good times are about to continue to roll here in Broncos country behind Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm really excited about that. And thank you so much, Jason. It's about to be a lot of fun. No kids of mine yet, or who knows, but I'm excited.
Who knows? Who knows?
Not me. I don't know anything.
Want an announcement? Do we have an announcement coming on the show? All right, because that would be an MHI first.
No, that's not happening.
We're announcing, because here's another thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. How many babies are about to be named Russell here in Broncos country after they win a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years? And I say 2 to 3 years because I think we need to start talking about expectations. Nick, let's talk about the AFC West, because we're talking about it's loaded. Well, what makes it loaded? Obviously, the first thing I'd like to talk about is pass rushers. Right? Because pass rushers are very important in the NFL. Broncos country knows all about it. Just look at Super Bowl 50 and Von Miller and what he continued to do last year. Got him another Super Bowl with the Rams, valued member of the team, maybe getting a little long in the tooth, but Chandler Jones goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. I didn't see that coming. I knew he was going to go somewhere, but the Raiders, a little bit surprising, definitely concerning. What's your take on, obviously, Chandler Jones being a hot free agent pass rusher and going to the AFC West?
I mean, it's unfortunate because him and Max Crosby are going to be a very good pair.
I know.
Chandler Jones has the game too that I don't think he's going to fall off immediately. He relies. I think he ran like a 4.8 40 coming out of Syracuse, but it's his length and his quickness, joltiness. I mean, he plays so like kind of sudden.
He's got some grit.
Yeah.
He's got some grit to him. He's a effort high motor player. I think sometimes it's, I don't want to necessarily compare him to Josie Jewell, two different positions, but when you've got a guy out there giving it his all, you get these type of results. And man, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, that's tough going with the Raiders, but the Broncos have tried to combat that a little bit. They got Bobby Turner. He's back following his Green Bay coaches here to Denver in a 1-year deal. I think I'm really excited to see it. I think Broncos country is being sold a bill of goods right now for training camp's sake that it's going to be Anderson v. Turner. But no, man, Turner's here to be the right tackle, at least for 2022. You might see a rotation with injuries and other issues as we speak about that moving forward. But what do you think about the Billy Turner news, trying to get Garrett Bowles, obviously some support on his opposite side?
Yeah, no, it's the Raiders are going to be rough, man. They got a good offense too. We got Chris coming in, Chiefs from best to worst. The 4 teams in the AFC West.
This is our guy Pete. This is our guy Pete, not Chris.
Oh, excuse me, Peter.
Anytime I can correct Nick, I try, because he, makes sure I hear it every time I'm wrong.
Yes, that's true. That's probably a little too true. The 4 teams in the AFC West have to be winning this season. They'll come last. Definitely possible. I think I mixed it up because I started reading Chiefs. But the Chiefs definitely have a chance to do that. I will say, with Patrick Mahomes, probably the best offensive line in the division, best interior pass rusher, probably the best linebackers. I just don't expect them to finish last. I think it'll be the Raiders. They have the worst offensive line and the worst back 7 in the division and the worst quarterback. So that's typically the reason the team will lose, but definitely possible. I mean, any of these teams you could say wins the AFC West. I believe it. I think that, honest to God, I think the Broncos maybe have the highest upside. It's either the Broncos or the Chargers have the highest upside of all these teams, but I think the Broncos actually have the lowest floor too, because I mentioned it earlier. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, we're loving the stuff right now, but this is a very green coaching staff. We don't know how they're going to deal with adversity. Some people think Russell Wilson at age 33 and how he plays isn't going to be the Drew Brees or Tom Brady where he can work the middle of the field in the pass game. He's relied a lot on...
Who thinks that?
Some pretty smart people in the football world.
Who?
I think there's Deontay Lee, Seth Galina. I've heard, what's his name?
What from Fox? The jackass from Fox, Nick Wright. Is that who
those
we're
are
talking?
2 Pro Football Focus ones. Steven Ruiz over at The Ringer is another person who thinks that it might fall off here pretty soon. So we'll see. I'm sure these are all people who also thought that Peyton Manning was going to be nothing when he came over. Oh, his shoulder's done. His neck's fused. He can't play. We're gonna find out. Either way, I can say the Broncos have a top 10 quarterback. They're gonna be much better this year, and they have a good roster around him. It's not complete yet, but it's damn good. And Travis also come in. I think possibly Detroit as a landing spot for Mayfield. I see Goff as the next Rosen. Goff's better than Rosen. Let's be real. Goff got paid a big contract after having some good seasons. So I don't want to say that exactly. I could see them going after Mayfield, but there's a lot of smoke for Detroit being infatuated with Malik Willis and even taking him at number 2 overall. So we'll see how it plays out. But Mayfield, it's crazy. Who knows? I mean, the team who we should all be laughing at, we're kind of talking about the Browns or all these teams. How about the Commanders trading a 2 and a 2 and a 3 to go get Carson Wentz? And then, Jimmy Garoppolo could be had for a song. Teams are, saying you can give me a 6th-round pick to take on Baker Mayfield. They traded for bleeping Carson Wentz and all that capital. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But one thing I do get, man, is the Broncos reaching out. Broncos going international, because we know that Broncos country is a following all over the world, which is why, of course, at MHH, we say Broncos country is not a geographical location. It is a state of being. Look, it's right here on the hoodie that you guys can get on huddleuppod.com store. So I really, really like that. We adopt that. Broncos country has a solid place in our heart, and Broncos country is being represented by the Denver Broncos themselves. I know Bradley Chubb, is out there with some of the PR team and doing big special things. The Broncos are, I think, one of 4 teams that have been selected by the league as this reach out partnership to Mexico. We've seen increased games and trips to Mexico, which has been really cool, especially here in Colorado, because some teams have actually played, most recently the Broncos and Patriots, where the Patriots have actually stayed at Air Force Academy for like a extra week before flying to Mexico. Just some cool stories have kind of come out of that, and it's really cool when we can share our beloved sport with another country. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to Victor because it's something that's very important to all of us here in Broncos country, making sure that all our fans and all of each other are very well represented, and the Broncos are doing their damnedest to make that the case in Mexico. So huge props to the Denver Broncos.
Big representation for the Broncos for breakfast. Speaking here, I'm a little bit bummed it's not some of our European friends, because we have they like to join us for the morning shows a lot, because that's a more palatable time for them. But still, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun for the Broncos, and one of the few stadiums that they do play in that the stadium in Mexico City, higher elevation than Mile High, I think, probably. So hopefully that will be something that gives the Broncos an advantage.
Interesting. Curious. That's really curious, man. I know. Nick, have you heard about they've had like some footing concerns about the field and stuff? Do you remember
the field
any?
Has been terrible. Yeah.
Do you remember
was supposed to be Los Angeles versus the Chiefs, and it was moved to Los Angeles last minute because the field was so terrible.
Yeah. So I think, with the NFL support, with the international agreements that are being made and stuff like that, we can see improvements there. So huge shout out to Victor too, because that's really, really cool. And my guy Gage is coming in here, and Gage, I've told his story. I will continue to do so. Taking the bus all the way from Colorado Springs to make sure that he's got eyes on Broncos country. So absolutely love it. Saying that Mexico City, the stadium Estadio Azteca in Mexico City is over 7,000 feet. So, I'm not great at math here as an analyst, but I get by. 7,000 last time I checked is greater than 5,280. So thank you for cleaning that up for us, Gage. Really, really appreciate your support. And thanks for weighing in on MHI.
That's crazy. Yeah, I just stood in the conversion. They said 2,200 meters. All right, what is it? 7,217 feet above sea level. That's crazy. That's awesome. Hopefully the air quality is good and everything too. But Denver should have somewhat of an advantage there, and that should be a lot of fun. A lot of Broncos countries is in Mexico too, and hopefully we can convert some Raiders fans from there. Maybe they're mad about them leaving Oakland too, or maybe some of those Cowboys fans down there as well. I know those are 2 teams that have a lot of Mexican heritage fan base. So let's get into it. Our main topic here, we have the Broncos improving more than any team in football, according to Pro Football Focus's improvement index is the metric, and they use WAR, which is a calculation for wins above replacement for the players. And the Broncos are number 1. The reason the Broncos are number 1, guys, it's no secret. They got the biggest upgrade at the quarterback position, moving from Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock, probably a bottom 12 quarterback room last year, bottom 10 quarterback room last year, given not very much, given Teddy's limited upside and Drew Lock's erratic play. Now the Broncos top 10 quarterback room, no dip. As soon as that move happened, the Broncos were probably always going to finish number one with improving, even if they didn't make another move. So what do you think, Luke? I'm going to pull up the article here so I can get the graphic, but Broncos number one, the most improved team in football this year.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And I was reading a recent article, I think by our friends, Jeff Kerr, who I know that we respect. And he wrote up a great article, I think on cbssports.com, that was talking about, obviously you got to go heavy hitter. And who was the biggest heavy hitter? It was George Payton. And he made that clear that he was willing to move heaven and earth to get a quarterback. And that's what he did to get Russell Wilson. It was expensive when you look at it on paper, but when I look at it just based off of what I know about this sport, based off of what you know and what every other fan in Broncos country knows, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have jack squat. The Broncos haven't done jack squat since they had Peyton Manning. And Trevor Siemian, he's my guy. I'm happy that he's with the Bears, but he's a journeyman quarterback, and that's all really he was going to be. So you look at the heavy hitters. Obviously, Russell Wilson is number one for the biggest splash for me. And then I look at Davante Adams with the Raiders. I got off of the plane and found out from my spring break vacation with my family that Davante Adams was a Raider, and was just like, wow, did not see that coming. So three big names that we've just talked about. Obviously, Davante Adams and Chandler Jones to the Las Vegas Raiders, Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. But the Chargers, Nick, they've made some splashes as well.
Yeah, Chargers. Last year, the Chargers had a choice, two directions. This was a team that had not been very good. Obviously, they had the 7th overall pick when they drafted Justin Herbert, and they fired Anthony Lynn, who was then subsequently fired as the offensive coordinator for Detroit. So not very good. And last season, they had a choice. Either get the personnel in place to run the night and day difference defense of going from Gus Bradley's cover 3 heavy scheme, or Sorry, Scott's messaging me too. Scott, I can't scroll down because it's actually just an image that I pulled up there. There's no image. There's no nothing to scroll down on. So Nick's
favorite thing in the world, folks, is charts. And so
I look at a lot of charts.
Charts, graphs is easy. It's
Data.
You got to do it as analysts, because sometimes I'm here to tell you, you can put the numbers on the table, and you could sit there and try to see which big and list the numbers in order. Use visual representation. Yep. We all learned about bar graphs when we were in 3rd grade, and this graph that you're looking right here is basically talking exactly about what Nick had alluded to earlier. So in the Broncos, he talked about war, right? And war is a big thing. We continue to bring that up throughout the shows all season, and it's another reason that I really love MHH. And you look at where the Broncos are at, and you look at based off of the percentage improvement in wins above replacement, which is the war. Broncos leading the pack, Colts coming in at number 2, Raiders at number 3. AFC trend as it goes: Browns, Dolphins, Jags, Chargers right there. Let's go in. Let's talk a little bit about the Chargers. JC Jackson and Khalil Mack, I think, are the big heavy hitters for me when I talk about the Chargers. Khalil Mack, that was a shocker. Did not see that one coming either. What do you think about the move to get an aging pass rusher who can definitely still give a team fits?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good move by them, and the reason it only cost them what it did is because they're taking on the majority of the contract as well. The Bears probably could have gotten more, but they would have.
What was the comp?
Cap. I think it was a 2nd and 3rd round pick. So, that's not crazy, but they took on a big contract as well. So the Chargers, they had a decision last offseason, not this one. Either improve the offensive line, which was 32nd in pass blocking rank and 31st in run blocking rank, or improve the defense going from Bradley's cover 3 heavy scheme to Brandon Staley's match quarters. Night and day difference, folks. I mean, you talk about totally different body types and skills that you're looking for in those two types of defenses. Chargers decided, we have a young quarterback who just broke the all-time passing record for a rookie. We probably should invest in him and keep him healthy. So they drafted Rashawn Slater. They paid Matt Filer. They paid Corey Linsley. Also paid Brian Bulaga, which didn't work out for them, and kind of did not invest in the defense. This year, it's about the defense. They paid Joseph Sheldon Day. They paid Austin Johnson. They brought in J.C. Jackson. They brought in Khalil Mack. Their run defense last year was 30th in the NFL in EPA per play. They're one of the worst run defensive teams when you look at it over the last 5 years. That should change dramatically with the additions they did. And you can switch around a defense very quickly. I mean, you remember a couple years ago, Cincinnati Bengals had one of the worst defenses in football. They threw money at it, and last year they finished top 10 in EPA per play. The Raiders, laughably terrible on defense for a number of years. Last year, they just threw a bunch of one-year contracts at a bunch of defensive players, and boom, competent defense. Not great, but competent. And if you have a good offense, competent defense is enough. So I think that this is a Chargers team that scares me a lot. And right now, I know I'm the resident Chargers fan. They're always going to charger it up. Well, I'll believe it when I see it again. It happens every year. I know this is the classic mistake, but right now I think the Chargers are the favorite in the AFC West. I would pick them number 1. I know. I'm sorry. Come at me. Come at me. It's okay.
Do it. Broncos. Do it. Broncos country. That's at Nick Kendell MHH. Tell him. Ask him why he's such a hater. No, man, I respect that, because here's something else. And let's get to Travis real quick. Here's the thing. It's going to take a minute. All right. And I know that Russell Wilson and the offense are probably going to get going and might be a little hotter than the D. And that's something that we should think about. You've got 2 first-time coaches at the play calling position with Evero and Hackett. It's just one of those things, man, where it's going to take some time for the synergy to get going. It's going to take some time for the preferences to be learned, all of those sort of things. But the Broncos are not done filling positions. There are still positions of weakness, which why, Nick, I think you're definitely picking the Chargers, because they've got a ton of young players. They've got a great head coach. They've got a quarterback that is out of this world, and I think that's something to watch out for. But Travis Weber is asking a good question here. Besides Kareem Jackson, who else could Denver bring in to help the backfield, and who else can we get to fill the defensive line? So one thing I wanted to address is I'm not a fan of Tyron Matthew at safety for the Broncos. I see like rumors on social media. I've reached out a little bit. I'm not hearing anything about Tyron Matthews coming to the Denver Broncos, and I'm okay with that. I think at 29 years old, he's definitely got a ton of football in him, and he's going to go to another team and play well. But for me, he takes a lot of plays off. I think sometimes he's a little dramatic. I would rather have Landon Collins coming from Washington, if I'm being completely honest. But you got to look at the Broncos cash consideration and their cap stuff as well. You looked at receivers that ultimately took deals, which I felt like got Bobby Turner here, got you some cornerback help, got you some defensive line help. So I don't know, man. It's going to be tough at the safety position. But what about the defensive line position, Nick? I know you're really excited to see the defensive linemen that we have, especially with Randy Gregory, Bradley Chubb, Draymond Jones, DJ Jones. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, no, this is a unit that could definitely use some more depth. And right now I like to look at it based on the personnel. Nickel defense, I think you can write it in pen. The starters will be Randy Gregory, DJ Jones, Draymond Jones, and Bradley Chubb. But you still have questions about the 3-4 defense, how that looks with the defensive end spot. It sounds like, based on the press conference with DJ Jones, that DJ Jones will be playing the nose tackle spot in base defense. But who's going to play the spot where obviously Shelby Harris used to play? Is it going to be McTelvin Najim? Is it going to be Deshaun Williams? I think they're probably looking for somebody who's a little bit better as a run defender than those guys in that situation, because you want to make sure that Draymond Jones can get as much one-on-ones as possible. And if you have somebody who's not a very good run defender or not very strong at the point of attack, Draymond Jones is going to get more attention, and you don't want that. So I think you're probably going to look for somebody that in free agency, maybe there or in the draft, that could play that 5 technique spot. I know that Calais Campbell is still out there. He's an interesting player.
Yes, there we go. I want him. I said I wanted him at the ripe age of 35 a couple weeks ago, and come home, Calais. I got to work with his sister a few years ago. He comes from a hell of a family, hell of a story. Colorado is so proud of Calais Campbell, and he's so proud of Colorado. And it almost happened a few years ago. Yeah, it really did. Things were close, and he ultimately went to Jacksonville. From Jacksonville to Baltimore, where he held down the line with our guy D Wolf. But Calais Campbell, maybe a summer edition, maybe an injury edition, definitely a welcome edition. I love it, Nick. Get him.
Definitely. He's an interesting one. A little bit of inside outside ability too. If you want to go heavy 4-2-5 in your nickel packages, he can play that edge spot, or he can kick inside, and he should be able to play in a rotation. Some other names to keep an eye on too, a little bit older, but still, you're talking about, we're not the bottom of the barrel, but we're kind of in the middle of the barrel now. Akeem Hicks is another one. I mean, 6'6", 320, 330. If you want somebody who can play some 5 technique and occupy some bodies on a rotation, Akeem Hicks is a really interesting one. And then Sheldon Richardson also interests me some. He's still available. His play has dropped a bit, but I don't know if you saw the graphic of the best run stuff rates in the NFL the last 5 years. Number 2 was DJ Jones last year, and number 1 was Sheldon Richardson a few years ago. And George Payton was part of the staff that brought Sheldon Richardson into Minnesota. So I think that's another name to consider there for the 5 technique spot. That's a whole. I will say right now that on the roster, the part of the roster that scares me the most is the edge rushing spot. And it's not because I don't have faith in Randy Gregory or Bradley Chubb. It's more so the depth behind them. That's the position that I think is most likely to go boom based on those two players' injury history. And I like Jonathan Cooper as a fourth rusher. I don't love him as a starter. And Malik Reed, I don't think if Malik Reed, okay, this is just the reality. If Malik Reed was a highly valued edge rusher, he would have had a contract offer by now where no team would have to pay him $3 million, and you'd have to give him no draft capital to get him. Original round tender, right? If he was valued at the edge rush spot, he would be playing elsewhere already. I know he has sacks, but that doesn't make him a very valuable edge rusher for this team. So that's a guy that fifth pass rusher maybe. So that third edge rush spot, I think, is a glaring blinking light right now for the Broncos.
Yeah, I got some issues with Chubb. I always have. I think sometimes I wonder if he's actually a better athlete than he is a football player. And that's why you see some of the problems with his unfortunate luck in breaking down of his body. And I just don't like it, man. It's tough. You can't really count on him to play the whole season. And that's not me being a hater. That's just me sharing concerns that everyone should really acknowledge. But Jonathan Cooper, I think, is not only a good story. I think you're going to see him progressively step up and evolve. I can't wait to see him think what I think is going to happen, a second-year jump, especially with injuries. I'm already projecting Chubb will at least miss 4 to 5 games this year, and that would be a good season for him. I think at that point, you're going to see guys like Jonathan Cooper get a lot more run, and I'm not saying double-digit sacks or anything like that, but for a late-round pick in his second year, I think he's going to do special things, just like our guy Chris Hernandez doing special things, giving us a hardworking, I think Scott said it was a workout pair, saying keep it up for the good work. Appreciate you, Chris. And Chris is always working hard. I see you on Peloton. Chris is a extreme rider, man. He rides his ass off. So definitely appreciate Chris, who's been with us since the beginning and living that healthy Broncos lifestyle. So let's talk about the Chiefs, Nick. Obviously, the news of the week, Tyreek Hill is gone. Every Broncos country fan that I know was celebrating and don't have to deal with that guy anymore. But who'd they get? MVS? Not too worried about it, if I'm going to be honest. I'm really not. What'd you think about the Chiefs trying to rally from losing Tyreek Hill and getting MVS in the house?
I think it is an obvious move to the future for the Chiefs. After the contract from Christian Kirk that led to a cascade effect for Devontae Adams resetting the market, that led to a cascading effect for Tyreek Hill resetting the market, the Chiefs decided that 28-year-old Tyreek Hill becoming the number one paid wide receiver was not something that they wanted to commit to, not because Tyreek Hill isn't a good player, but because of how much they're paying the quarterback position, how much they're probably going to be hamstrung to paying Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney under contract, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, some other guys as well. And
in 2 years, they're going to have to pay Creed Humphrey.
Yep, exactly. Creed Humphrey as well. He's cheap right now. So is Trey Smith. So they got that going for them, but those are positions that are cheap you can find on the market too. So they don't have values really at cornerback, at edge rusher, at offensive tackle, some spots that are where you want to kind of get yourself a little bit of an advantage by getting a rookie contract on there versus what an average starter gets on the market. They don't have that. So they decided that time to move on from Tyreek Hill, get the capital, give themselves some flexibility in the future, because odds are they're not going to find edge rushers or cornerbacks or offensive tackles that will be difference makers from where they're drafting with their cap space as well. So now they have more picks. They're going to have more flexibility to undergo an evolution. And this is just natural ebb and flow for all teams. Eventually it was going to have to happen for the Chiefs. I mean, we saw it with Tom Brady or in his career. Now, I'm not saying Mahomes is Brady, but good quarterbacks over time, there's going to have to be ebbs and flows in how the team is structured. You went from Tom Brady defense, hand the ball off, quick pass game centric, to the amazing offense with Dante Stallworth and Randy Moss and Wes Welker, to the 12 personnel offense with Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski, to now he's playing with the Buccaneers. I mean, so this is a difference, an evolution for the Chiefs. But anybody who says this isn't a Chiefs taking a step back in 2022 is a bleeping homer. This is that it's making the choice to fall back into the pack, and the AFC West is now there for the taking. The AFC is now there for the taking because of this move. So I'm excited about it. Get Tyreek Hill out of here. I will miss the moral high ground that we always had over the Chiefs because of that. But
we still have it. Go look back, and I'm not gonna bring it up because it was a tragedy that I think if you just looked into some recent history within the last 10 years or so, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just go look it up. But I don't think that the Chiefs are necessarily built on integrity. But guess what, folks? It's the NFL. All right. This is a winning business. And I often like to say, don't meet your heroes, especially if your heroes are sports figures. Your heroes should be your family members, your friends, people in the medical field, military, police, fire, nursing. I mean, everything. Anyone can be a hero, but sometimes I think fans get it twisted a little bit because we fall into these players on the field and you hope they are who they say they are. One thing, I was having a conversation with a Broncos fan today, and they were saying, man, Russell Wilson seems like a really good dude. And I said, yeah, I think so too. He seems very grounded with who he is. And I think sometimes that's why we label him as corny, but he wasn't looking for attention, Nick, at Children's Hospital of Colorado. I think it was just kind of reported by someone who was there. And then the video kind of went viral. He hadn't even been announced as the quarterback because the season hadn't officially started. So you see those genuine moves from guys like Russell Wilson, which is another reason why Broncos country is really, really excited.
Yeah, and they should be, man. It's a good guy, especially with what's going on with Cleveland right now. Somebody that we can cheer for on the field, gives us hope, and also we can be proud about off the field. So that makes a big difference. I mean, it really does. Feels good.
And I don't know if you saw it, but Russ talked a little bit about in his press conference. I know you saw it, but he talked about the baseball element of when he was drafted by the Colorado Rockies and how the city of Denver and the Rockies organization was there for him after his father passed away. And that was something that really meant a lot to him as not only a young athlete in both football and baseball, but as a young man that's coming into his own. And he's a father in his own right now. So, Travis, I see that. I'm not going to read it, man, just because I can't take a shot at another man's wife like that. But no, I think everyone can cue into what Travis was inferring to. I think Travis, like the rest of us, like to poke fun of Mahomes' family. And for me, it's that dang brother. I don't have a problem with his wife or anything like that. That gets really personal, but the brother just acts like a punk, man. I will say that. I'll take a shot at the brother because the TikTok videos now, with him and Juju, good Lord.
It's, people can hate him. I don't really, it's fun to make jokes of them. That's what I'm here for. Give me the content so I can make fun of you just to laugh at it. And, but do I really actually care about him at all? No, I mean, whatever. Just, if you're a dumb bleep, then you're a dumb bleep. Getting back to the Broncos most improvement war, I had a comment here from the article that I thought was worth mentioning. So obviously you had the Broncos trading for Russell Wilson, and the comment is, in one of the biggest trades in NFL history, the Broncos sent a few players and a handful of picks over for Wilson, who raises their war projection over previously assumed starter Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Seahawks suffer a loss of Wilson and assume the replacement of a combination of Drew Lock, Geno Smith, and their lease of Bobby Wagner. So that's the drop there. But the one that interests me is the Broncos getting a big bump for Randy Gregory, who is the only other player they mentioned in the metrics, saying the move is an about face for Gregory, who was reportedly resigning with the Cowboys before choosing instead to join Russell Wilson with the improved Denver Broncos. Gregory adds 0.1 WAR to the Broncos total, which is actually super significant for a non-quarterback. So they're giving some love to Randy Gregory as well. I'm excited to see what he can be. 29 years old. I don't know, Luke, we have access to NFL Game Pass. If you have a chance, just you want to have some fun, I know you like to watch college draft recruits as well, or college draft prospects. Randy Gregory really reminds me of a college prospect who, like, okay, the stats aren't there. Let me put on the tape. What's everyone buzzing about? Oh, I see. That makes sense because this dude's pass rush ability on tape, the burst, the length, the fluidity, the slipperiness, you don't see that as much on the stats, although he was, again, really high WAR this last year. But the traits are unbelievable. They really are. I mean, the tape is that good.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, and I've reviewed it, and he was one of the reasons I wrote about it last year when the Broncos played the Cowboys. I'm like, look, Micah Parsons, his biggest cheerleader. Trust me, everyone's heard that. It's old, it's lame. But I wrote about Randy Gregory because I'm like, dude, if everyone's paying attention to Micah Parsons, who's going to be watching this cat? And it was a battle. Go back and watch the game. He got after Garrett Bowles. He got under his skin a little bit, but Garrett Bowles did not respond in a bad way. Something we've been hoping and wanting to see. Nick, I can't wait to see training camp, O-line, D-line this year. I hope that we can see it finally because they tried to keep him off as they should, because it gets violent, it gets colorful, lots of good, not family language going on there, but it's going to be nasty, man. I'm really pumped about Randy Gregory. A lot of people are saying, hey, man, he's been suspended a lot. He's had problems with the drug policy. Here's the thing. Yes, I acknowledge that. The Broncos, George Payton went after that because he wants to get quality guys off the field as well. But the marijuana thing, regardless of how you feel about it, in the last collective bargaining agreement, it was basically the whole thing of previous marijuana infractions went away. It's the stiff penalties. You're not going to see those things anymore. Randy Gregory, a lot of those things were because of that specific drug that the NFL had a different policy at the time. So it's a different time. It's a little bit of a different league with that new CBA. And it's a different man when you look at Randy Gregory. I made mistakes in my life, and I don't feel comfortable unless it's truly harming other people judging those folks, because I did a lot of stupid things, and thank God they were never on social media or anything like that, Nick. But as a grown man who's a father now, married, you're married, have a family, we change and we definitely grow into adults. And I can't wait to see Randy Gregory get that fresh start here in Broncos country.
And you know what? This is a business still at the same time. So if Randy Gregory, for some reason, has an issue, the contract is, what did they say? 5 years, $70 million?
Out.
The way it's set up, it's a 2-year contract. They can get out of it pretty easily. So the boom is very high for him, and the bust is not really that busty because they can move on from it. So that's really interesting. It'll be fun to see. I do think that they still need another edge rusher, whether that be in the draft or anything like that. But sounds like, talking about the draft here, first, Travis Weber. Great show tonight, guys. Thank you for your input and time, and apologies for the bad joke. It's
no, don't apologize. It was awesome. I just can't read it because here's the thing, man. I'm married. I would hate it if somebody went after my spouse, just like anyone would, because at that point it gets a little personal. But no, we're all here for the joke. So I never apologize, especially if it's at the Chiefs' expense, Travis, because I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Broncos, talk about edge rusher. I think that's probably the biggest need this team has right now, maybe going forward as well, depending on what you think of Bradley Chubb. Obviously, Luke, you don't think that Chubb can stay healthy to provide a value on the contract that he's probably going to get, being the 5th overall pick in the healthy years. Somebody's going to pay him. But
do you think it's going to be Denver? Do you think, obviously they're waiting to see. What does he have to do real quick? Like, as we finish the show here, I know we've got about 5 more minutes, but as you know, Nick, we've talked about it. This draft is littered with pass rushers, especially in the late rounds as well. So if you're concerned, you can go get another one. But what do you think Bradley Chubb has to do to get a long-term contract here with the Broncos?
Has to play healthy. Just has
How
to
many
be healthy.
games?
I don't think
or production wise. Are we talking maybe like he misses? So what? He plays 12 games, gets 25 tackles, a forced fumble, and 7 sacks. Is that enough?
This is such a hard question because, like, that could be enough depending on what the contract is that he wants. Like, there is a price for that I would be fine paying. But he's still the former 5th overall pick with some pretty high seasons as well. Not Von Miller high, but, top 15 edge rusher output at a young age. So somebody will pay him based on the pedigree. I think the biggest thing, though, for him is just being healthy. If he can be healthy, that's big. He doesn't have to play 17 games in my book. Doesn't have to play even 15 games. Maybe he has a hamstring or something. That's another reason you want another edge rusher. Depth, that's probably one of the highest depth positions in the entire NFL right now, and I don't really trust the guys after the top 2, and I don't know if I trust the top 2. So that concerns me a bit. Ooh. But, just as far as being available all the time, I think you need to be able to have options there, because if one of those edge rushers goes down, your defense should drop dramatically. And I'm sorry, I love Jonathan Cooper as a depth edge rusher, but his play style and his ability and how refined he already is with his hands, I think he's closer to a ceiling than a lot of second-year players would be. He's also, I think, already going to be 25 years old. So there's just some limitations to his game.
Garrett Bowles is an old man. He's like 60 and he came into the NFL.
Edge rusher is so different than offensive tackle. We saw Andrew Whitworth just retire at 80 years old. Guys are getting paid, like
Father Time was looking at Andrew Whitworth saying, dude, it's time to think about some stuff. No, you're right. I think, but left tackle, I could go there too. I think our arguments are essentially the same, because you got to figure out the edge position, whether it's on the offense or the defense. And Garrett Bowles is still a concern for me. If I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not like I'm not out there looking for another left tackle. I'll be the first to say that, but he's got to play better. Dalton Reisner has to play better as well. But you're right, Nick. I think cornerback, I would like to see another cornerback and another edge rusher at least for the Broncos, and a linebacker. Get me my guy from Alabama, please.
I'd be okay with another safety too. I don't trust Lamar Johnson. And
do you want
Caden
Kareem?
Smith.
Do you want KJ
I would be happy
for another 1-year deal?
I'd be happy with him back. I also really like Jaquan Tart from San Francisco as well, one of the best linebackers in football. I wouldn't hate Tyron Matthew at the right contract too, given how versatile he is. I think everything has a price. I'm not looking to pay him big money. Also, the storyline of him coming to Denver and just giving the fingers to Kansas City. I'm just here for the Kansas City Tears at this point. That'd be a lot of fun too. So, but anyway, talking about the draft here before we get on out, Broncos have had multiple players come in for official visits, but the two of interest so far that I think are worth mentioning and probably gives a little bit of an idea of where the Broncos are looking. They've brought in Tyler Smith, offensive tackle from Tulsa, and also Abraham Lucas, offensive tackle from Washington State. The Broncos signed Billy Turner to a 1-year deal. He should be fine there this season. He's going to compete with Calvin Anderson, 1-year deal. You also have Tom Compton, 1-year deal. Broncos picking at 64. You're probably not getting a day one starter, hopefully, at that spot in the draft. But if you can get yourself a tackle who can start in 2023 at that spot, or maybe even trade up a little bit for somebody like that, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's what the Tyler Smith and Abraham Lucas visits are indicating. I know some people are, oh man, it's probably just a smoke screen because of George Payton. Smoke screening at pick 64, I don't know about that. You're just kind of getting to know these guys to see if they're worth trading up for. These are also two guys who probably go before the Broncos at pick 64. So smoke screen or not, who cares? At number 9 overall, it's a different game. You're playing a different game at 9 overall compared to picking 64. So I don't think it's as predictive as what he did last year compared to this year.
It's a copycat league, and I think folks are going to be looking for Rashawn Slater. So I think with that's to your point, Nick, that these cats are probably not going to be available when the Broncos get on the clock unless George Payton wants to move up. We talked about it on the last show. I think that he missed out on Spencer Brown, and that's the player he continues to allude to, among others, when he talks about regretting a few things in last year's draft. But I really like this cat out of Washington, Abraham Lucas, man. He's got a lot of size, but he's a developmental good dude at 6'6", 315. He can be a little stiff at times, but man, that size, that athleticism, the footwork, can clean it up a little bit, but it's a new offensive line. It's a new system. I'm looking forward to it. I will actually be out at the Pro Days next week. So hit Wyoming to check out Chad Muma. That'll be on Tuesday. And then I'll be in Fort Collins for CSU's day to see Trey McBride. And scouts are very curious. Chattering's happening already about both players. Trey McBride has yet to run his 40. Did not do that at the combine. Chad Muma, definitely the hottest prospect since Logan Wilson. Craig Bowl already comparing him a little bit and saying there's a razor thin edge there. So I'm super pumped to see some of these college players because, Nick, the draft is here, man. We are right around the corner. Big things are coming from the Broncos because Peyton ain't done.
Peyton is not done, and the Broncos window just opened up. I say go for it. If that means bringing in another big veteran signing, they can work it out. They'll figure it out. Obviously, don't give up your future, but really, man, I think I just had an article just published talking about the window opening for Denver. So make sure you guys check that out over at Mile High Huddle. I think the time is now. Again, Russell Wilson will never be cheaper, never be younger, and you have a good team right now. There's no guarantees for the future. What are you waiting for? I think go for it. Get up and go. The window opened with Tyreek Hill out of the division. Chiefs are vulnerable. I smell blood in the water. Chargers and Raiders loading up too. Why not add more talent, decrease your margins even more, and go win it all this year? I mean, there's nothing to wait for. There's no reason to wait. So we're gonna stop keeping you guys waiting as well. Easy on the hyperbole. Says Scott, never been young. He's not getting any younger. He's 33, and he has been younger. Whoops. But he's not getting any.
Scott has the fountain of youth because he hauls his kids that he loves dearly all over the state, the country, the world for all of their sports, and then he makes sure that he has his time for us and you here on MHI. Thank you, Scott. And Travis Weber coming in here with some more support, man. He's always in there giving us love and a very active member of the show. And it's definitely been an awesome show. It's been very lively, which I absolutely love. I love the energy. I love the back and forth, the conversation. And thank you guys so much for joining MHI. Again, hit those thumbs up, just like Mr. O is suggesting down there in the comment section. Like, subscribe, get at us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes. For our friends on Facebook, we really appreciate it. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. That's at MHI_pod. Our guy Phil, what's up, Phil? Phil's giving us some love. Phil
Buzzer
McLaughlin on the way out. The beep 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 coming in here with Phil. Michael Ranquillo saying, "Let's ride, go Broncos!" And you guys have been such a fun fan base to rock with us on our Saturday nights. We will be back next Saturday. The Huddle Up Boys will be on Sunday. You guys can find Broncos for Breakfast with Nick and Scott back on these airwaves Monday morning. Be sure to get at them and all of our shows. Nick's on all the shows. Scott's on all the shows. Chad's back allegedly from a break. I don't know who approved that. But no, we appreciate everybody. Broncos country, let's ride.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.